Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So today, I hope, I'm going to pray to the YouTube overlords that they make this video go viral. Please, gods, nerds, whoever you are, algorithmic transhumanoids. This video is going to be geared primarily towards, hopefully, people who are not interested in prepping at all. Hopefully I can tap that demographic, because what I'm about to say is very crucial information. So let's get to it. Alright, so I gotta say, man, I'm not one for labels. I think that labels, right when you put a label on yourself, a literal label, what is a label? You know, you put one of those name tags on your shirt and it says your name or it says what company you represent or blah blah blah. That's what it is when you slap a label on yourself. I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal. Right when you put that label on yourself, you know what that allows other people to do? It allows other people to market stuff to you. You become then a part of a target market. And right when you slap that label on yourself, you can bet your bottom dollar, because that's what's going to be spent, that somebody is going to come and try to exploit you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in some way, shape, or form. So I don't believe in labels. I don't like calling people liberals or conservatives, because I just find that right when you put a label on yourself, also, you feel compelled to defend everything within that platform. I'm just going to turn this light down here because this one's a little bit too bright. This one, yeah, I'm still mastering the lighting game, so I'll be right back. Alright, so that's a little bit better. It doesn't look like this side of the room is on fire, that the apocalypse has happened over here and the dark side awaits over here. Labels. Don't put them on yourself. I know it's very tempting because you want to be a part of a group. It's our tribalistic nature. We want to be a part of something. I'm not saying don't make decisions. I'm not saying don't have fundamental beliefs, be anchored in certain values, etc. You can do that. And maybe that's, you know, how people define it. When they talk about I'm a liberal, I'm a conservative. What we need to understand, politics is a spectrum. It's an infinite spectrum, meaning that no conservative is the same as another conservative. Same thing if you're on the liberal end of the spectrum. We're all snowflakes in the political spectrum because we're all unique. We're all different. Nobody is exactly alike. So that's why I don't buy the whole left-right thing. That said, a lot of people love these self-imposed labels and these self-imposed limitations. I think it's an evolutionary throwback, which hopefully in the future we're going to escape that way of thinking, but I'm not going to hold my breath anytime soon. Quite frankly, I think the crap is going to hit the fan long before that ever happens. Now, this video is intended for liberals, people who call themselves liberals. So forgive me if I don't put quotes around every time I say liberal, conservative. It's too much. Just, you know how you define yourself, how other people define you. That's the thing. People want to put people into different boxes. They want to do this because it's easier for them. It's a sign of intellectual laziness. It's analytically inferior to just say, okay, I'm going to stop right here and I'm not going to evolve my opinions anymore. Nothing is static. Beliefs, ideas are not static. I might have a static physical characteristic in the sense that, you know, I'm a half black, half white person. You know, I can't really change that. Beliefs and ideas are not like that. Beliefs and ideas should, in my opinion, be constantly evolving around a good set of fundamental values. Okay, so now that we've got all that clear, we can get to the meat and potatoes of this video. What really worries me about quote-unquote liberals is how immensely unprepared you are to deal with crises of epic proportions. I do actually escape this whole bubble of survival and preparedness more often than you might think. And when I do venture out into the real world, the real superficial, fake, you know, mainstream media manipulated, blah, 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 deceptive world, when I'm out there, it's scary, man. It's scary knowing what I know, how many videos I've made, hundreds and hundreds of videos about prepping and survival. You start to think that at least everybody should have some really rudimentary understanding of prepping and survival, and you come to realize that they don't. I'm venturing to say that 80 to 90% of people, especially people in the city, have absolutely no capability to survive beyond a few days. And that's why prepping never gets old, is because there's this huge demographic of people out there who have never even touched on the basics. And if they have, they may have gleaned, a FEMA pamphlet, or they may have watched a commercial, or maybe, they're part of the millions of people who like watching shows like The Walking Dead, or they've been exposed to, some post-apocalyptic movies, and that's where they've been primed with what they should do, or what they should know about basic survival skills, like the show Survivor. There's definitely mainstream media out there which provides some pseudo education on survival. But when I go to these people's houses, I feel a sense of sadness, because it's like 90% of the house will serve absolutely no functional value to keep them alive should the grid collapse, which most of them believes it will. I'm going to get to that. Other than providing them with a combustible source of fuel so that they can stay warm when they have to basically pull planks of their hardwood off the floor to burn to keep warm in the wintertime. That's the extent of the provisions that they have in their home. 90% of it is just wasted space, in my opinion. Lots of these people, and bless their heart, I'm not criticizing them as people. I'm not, pointing the finger and saying I'm better than you, because I was there before, man. I get it. You're free floating in the societal ether like some feather, on the cushion of civilization, just, existing, going from restaurant to restaurant, just living life as though nothing bad is ever going to happen. And that's why things happen. And the funny thing is, not funny in a very twisted, dark humor sort of way, is that a lot of these people think that the climate is changing. They seem to think that by the year 2100, this place is going to be a frickin' wasteland. Yet absolutely none of them, the majority of them, are not preparing for that. It's almost as if they've just accepted that that's going to happen and that there's nothing they can do about it, or they just assume that the government or the powers that be or the collective is going to somehow come together when the time is required to do those things. And maybe that is why, now that I think about it, that preparedness is more of a quote-unquote conservative practice, because there's that independence aspect. Which is funny, because the left does bring a lot of independent traits. Most artisans, people who use their right brain, that's another weird thing. Right brain creativity, yet right wing is this. Left wing is logical, mathematical, left brain is logical, mathematical, blah, blah, blah. I know that theory is kind of old hat. It's not taken as seriously as it used to be in modern day neuroscience. But this is just the contradictions. 50 years ago, the right and the left meant different things. Not entirely, but largely they did. So with all these contradictions, I'm constantly reminded when I venture in to the city, and I feel a sense of sadness with some people that I see there, not because they're unprepared necessarily, but I also see how unfulfilled their lives are with all of the basic shit that they use to try to define themselves. And it's sad because a lot of these people pride themselves on being intellectuals, being academics. I spent 6 years in academia, in the social sciences. I know the drill. I know these people, okay? And I don't even like you peopling, because, again, I'm not trying to say I'm better than you or anything like that. I was there, man. I get it. But I'm telling you that there are people out there who have you framed as a certain thing. They have you framed as a communist, a liberal, blah, blah, blah. And you need to get yourself prepared for when civilization does inevitably break down. You got to get prepared, because there's people out there who really don't like you for reasons that I don't agree with. I think that a liberal and a conservative can sit there, have a conversation, and it's not until politics comes up that, you know, they got to take sides and be oppositional about things. I don't know why it's such a polarizing thing. Like, it's just in our nature, I guess, to have very hard opinions when it comes to how we believe the tribe should be run. But you need to prepare, and you need to get prepared now, because the world needs artisans. Lots of you comprise many of the essential services in our society. Doctors, teachers, healthcare professionals in general. Some of the extremist comments I get. I don't get a lot of left extremist comments because that largely is not my audience. But I can tell you that there are some real die-hard extremists out there who are going to be put under the spell of whatever preacher who comes up and says, hey, you got to go and take care of these people because that's what we need to do to cleanse the earth. The same holds true with the left, by the way. Cult mentality, and like I say, labels. The more entrenched you are in a label, the more susceptible you are to succumbing to a cult leader. Take my advice. Learn the basics of prepping, at least, you know, and I don't mean just, you know, go and dust off your old, you know, cheap $20 Canadian Tire emergency kit for your car and check the batteries because they're all corroded out, probably because you haven't used it in 1,000 years, and you don't believe in high-powered flashlights, and you don't believe in pocket knives or any form of, you know, anything that can be construed as a weapon, because you've been conditioned to believe that self-defense is so terrible. You got to start taking this stuff seriously. Even your biggest gurus, the people who, at least who the media have painted as quote-unquote liberals, who have the most money, are prepping. They're prepping. They're buying property far away from civilization, far away from the big megalopolises that people are getting stuffed into, whether directly or indirectly. They're buying that property. Okay? So they're preparing for something. They know that it can't continue. Economists, ecologists, climate scientists, military strategists, frickin' astronomers, cosmologists, epidemiologists, they all have different potential crisis bubbles that they foresee that are ticking time bombs. That it's only a matter of time, and the reality is they're probably all gonna come about at the same time. I believe that we'll persevere through it. I believe that humanity will come out on the other side better, but there's going to be another dark age, man. On a long enough timeline, we cannot continue with the economy as is. The economy, the idea of the infinite growth model, it's not sustainable. Ecologically, not sustainable. From a militaristic standpoint, we are rubbing shoulders so tightly now in the hunt for what's left of the resources. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before something from space, be it a frickin' asteroid, a solar flare, whatever the case might be, makes it our way. It's only a matter of time before a pandemic, as a result of our agricultural practices and our dependence on antibiotics and all the rest. It's only a matter of time before that comes around and balances things out. Remember, nature strives to be at an equilibrium. You shoot something up into the air, gravity is going to pull it back down eventually. We have launched ourselves so far up, you know, and even if you look at that population curve, you know, we just like took a run straight up the last couple hundred years. That can't continue forever. It's not sustainable. You could argue that, you know, with the right use of our energy and all the rest, and the ideal political socioeconomic system, that we could definitely, you know, feed and clothe and have healthy lifestyles for 20 billion people. But we're not going to do that. Not before crap really hits the fan in a bad way. And I'm not just being cynical or pessimistic anymore. That used to come from a place that was uninformed. But as much as I try to play the devil's advocate with myself, that is what I foresee happening. Because it's human nature. It's happened too many times in the past. And morally, on a fundamental moral level, we have not changed. And that is the reason. Because everybody thinks that morally, ethically, we've changed a lot. And this is I think the spell that a lot of liberals are under too is that you think that just because slavery ended, that just because, you know, civil rights came into practice, that, you know, just because we started to, you know, impose a carbon tax, things of that nature, that we've actually developed to be more moral, ethical people on a fundamental level. But the fact is we haven't. It's just that technology has allowed us to really rein in and shave off a lot of those extraneous human behaviors. Human nature is fundamentally the same. You can take a human being from 70,000 years ago, put them in a classroom today, raise them from a baby upwards, and not know the difference. Biologically, emotionally, dare I say spiritually, we don't evolve that fast. Our technology has vastly outpaced our ability to manage it in a way which is responsible. And when it's all about greed, when it's all about bringing up the bottom line, when it's all about infinite growth and not sustainability, you get cancer. And there's going to be a cancer of the earth. There's going to be an equilibrium. There's going to be a balancing at some point. So I hope this video communicates and speaks to the people who it needs to speak to most. And that is those of you who seem to have this blind faith that everything is going to be okay. And like I say, I don't want the post-collapse cross-section of society to be 90% conservative and only 10% liberal. I think we need that balance. That's why you have two parties in the political system, to make sure. I mean, you should probably have more, arguably. It depends on which philosophical position you take, I suppose. It seems like everything boils down to some dialectic at some point. But it's important that we have opposing viewpoints. That's what a democracy is. Once you don't, you're running off into one direction. You run off hard line into the left direction, you're going to get government tyranny in a way that you've never experienced before. You run off too far to the right, you're going to get fascism and corporatism, the likes of which you've never experienced before. Both really are the same damn thing in the end. Just powerful people doing whatever the hell they want. So stay ready, stay prepped, learn the basics. I haven't even got into what those basics are because my channel is littered with it. There's thousands of preparedness videos on YouTube, and you're probably going to be turned off because a lot of the people who are prepping, they're not of your political persuasion. They don't have your same beliefs about society, about the economy, but you have to just get past that. You have to be willing to learn from the people who know what they're doing, and the people who know what they're doing are people who live in the country. Farmers, you know, bushcrafters, off-gridders, homesteaders, preppers, survivalists, people who work in those more traditional jobs, who, when society collapses, they're going to still have a valuable skill set. So that's who you have to learn from. You know, don't be spending too much time with your head in a book just about theory. Make sure you get some practical knowledge as well. Thanks for watching. Good luck to everybody, conservative, liberal alike. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something of it. I hope you got some inspiration. I hope I opened a few minds to a few things. The best way to support this YouTube channel is to support yourself by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com or BugoutRoll.ca. Premium quality gear at the best possible price using the incredibly secure and easy to use Shopify platform. We offer free shipping to the United States for orders over $200 USD and free shipping to Canada over $75. So support the channel by supporting yourself.